Yeah, just as a little bit of background, and I think many of you probably already know this. I know Lynn and Connie do, but um, this is there's to me there's something there are a couple things that are bigger than you know that are bigger issues that are in play. Obviously, one is the open space and green space. And, we're not talking about existing parking lot. We're not talking about an area that, is adjacent to transit. And making sure that, that we do actually everything we can to keep those green spaces going is important. The other piece that is really, I think, maybe new or kind of new for Reston is this idea of the comprehensive plan being the primary guide for development decisions. Now, this was started by my predecessor, Supervisor Hudgens, and she's the one who got the process going so that the comprehensive plan actually was flushed out for Reston. And it is a different process for us in Reston. And one of the big things that's different about it is it's not top down. The comprehensive plan, at least for changing the comprehensive plan on a site-specific basis like this, really, in at least the way that I deal with the comprehensive plan and look at the comprehensive plan, it does require community support to do that. It's not a top-down thing. It should be something that only happens when the community wants to see it happen. So that's a strong, I guess, approach or philosophical issue that was first and foremost in my mind going through this whole process. So that's what took me so long. I could have, even before I got elected, I could have just said, yeah, forget it, don't do it. It's not going to happen. But I think the underlying approach and philosophy and protection provided by the comprehensive plan is stronger when it's understood to be in the context of being something that has community support and is based on community support. So I did give Wheelock time to go out and sell it to the community, and they took that time and they did their thing. And I know there was a lot of controversy around that, at least in some situations, and some of the things they said and did, I got it. And it really, and I made it clear all along that I was going to make that decision based on what I heard from the community. I heard from a lot of you. I heard from a few people on the other side, but it was overwhelming. And it really, I didn't want to put you and everyone else in the community through any more anxiety. I'd heard enough. And so that's when I published this statement last Friday. And I do consider the matter closed. So I want to congratulate you on all the good work that you guys have done under Lynn and Connie's leadership and communication with me. We've always been very straightforward, very open about things, and I was the same way with Wheelock. Anyway, it's a good day, and I kind of wanted to give everybody a Good Friday last Friday too. So.
And you did. Did. I think we were floating on cloud 9 for I guess 3 days.
Yeah, I wanted everybody to have a good weekend.
Yeah, thank you.
At least
so
on
much,
this call.
Yeah. And I think that I shared with this group in this neighborhood community that you have really stayed true to your word, and we are so appreciative, and it just speaks volumes about your integrity and your credibility, and we're so lucky to have you.
Well, thank you, Lynn. I appreciate that. Now, I don't know what Wheelock's going to try to do. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if folks read the Washington Business Journal, but they called me and talked to me about that. And I mean, all I could say is, it's a free country. I mean, they can say whatever they want and run whatever campaign, but I consider the matter closed, and I just repeated that, and pointed back to my statement.
Thank you. So we're basically at the end of our presentation, and I'm so glad that you made the time to join us. I know you came directly here from another meeting, Walter, but we do have some community discussion. If it's okay, if you would be
Sure.
able to hang around and answer any questions that folks may have. What I'd like to do, Suzanne, if it's okay, I'd like you to maybe field some of the questions that we have in the chat.
Sure. So scrolling back up. So Supervisor Alcorn, one of the questions that we had some discussion about is sort of at the end, where you were talking about not being a golfer and recognizing that the long-term use of the property depends on a community willing to play golf. And could you maybe clarify, or were you kind of being cute that you're not a golfer and you didn't have a horse in this race, or do you view that there's concern that there might be a trade-off for property being or houses being built on that property in the future?
Well, I mean, I think part of it is just the economic reality that it's private property, and as long as it's private property, and it's said it's got to be it's golf course. That's what it says in the comprehensive plan, and the Fairfax County can hold the line on the comprehensive plan. In other words, we can basically say, yeah, golf course is what it is, but we can't force them to operate the golf course. That's not something we could do. So that was my point. I mean, for the county's role is more regulatory in this case. It's not, there's not an ownership or operational role that the county has. So that was my point. I mean, if folks want this to continue to be a golf, then somebody's got to pay to play golf. That was my point.
Very good. A second question was, what do we need to do to have Wheelock go away forever?
I don't know. I
Buy the course.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, it is private property, and if ultimately Wheelock sells it to somebody, then they're gone. I mean, that's I guess how that happens. But yeah, they would have to dispose of the property one way or the other for them to totally go away. And it's their choice. I mean, honestly, nobody's, I mean, we just, in this country, we don't roll that way. So it would have to be up to them to go away.
So there's another question here, and let me set up some context. Over the last several months, the volume of emails, postcards, phone calls to participate in surveys, and other PR offensive that Wheelock's been a part of during a pandemic that has forced many people who are concerned for their lives, for their family, for their and jobs, to really get involved in defending our way of life here in Reston. And many people we've heard from have described Wheelock's actions as being harassing, causing great level of anxiety. And so really the input of the next question is around what counsel would you provide to this group of community members who are feeling harassed? And by all accounts, Wheelock's statement is that they're not going to let up. What recommendation would you have to us to kind of weather what might be coming next?
Yeah, I mean, my recommendation would be to stay organized. Stay on top of it. Pay attention to whatever it is, whatever campaign or outreach they do. I mean, they are free to do that, but I would just encourage you all to keep your ears to the ground and communicate amongst yourselves and to stay on top of it, and communicate with my office. Let me know what you're hearing as well. I do feel that anxiety as well from a lot of folks in the community, and I understand this is a really tough time. I mean, apart from this is a crazy time.
Mhm.
There are a lot of things going on that have a lot of people really on edge. So again, that was one of the things that encouraged me to hurry this up.
So as a follow-on, with your statement on Friday,
Mhm.
what might Wheelock do to make an end run around your decision, your statement? What other avenues might be available to them?
Well, I mean, theoretically, I mean, it would have to be a vote of the entire Board of Supervisors. So, I mean, theoretically, they, could go to my colleagues on the board and try to get them to do something different. The chances of them succeeding in that are slim. And I would say, just FYI, before I made this announcement, on Thursday, I was at an event with the Chairman McKay, and I told him what I was going to do, and he said, "Okay, good, thank you."
Yay.
And also, he appreciated also the heads up.
Well, I
So,
have to note, we were also sending copies of our communication to Chairman McKay, which you may have heard. So hopefully he was hearing the noise from Reston. Well, we don't want to have to double down on that, right?
Yeah, I mean, theoretically, there's always the risk whenever there's any issue in play for county land use and county land use policy. There's always the possibility we could get sued. They could decide to sue Fairfax County for some basis. I don't know. I don't think that would go anywhere. So my guess is they probably won't do that. But I mean, I guess theoretically, boy, I'm just telling you all these secrets of the developers and what they try to do. The other thing that we have seen before, I don't think we would see this here. We have seen from time to time members of the development community go to Richmond and basically get the General Assembly to do something weird that would somehow limit local government ability to regulate land use. We've seen that over the decades. Again, I don't think we would see that here, but those are the things that I keep an eye on. So basically my colleagues, the courts, and Richmond.
So does that mean we should be writing our state representatives?
No, I wouldn't worry about it. I think it relates more back to my suggestion that you keep your ears to the ground collectively. If you start hearing of, meetings with legislators, that they're having, or communications, then yeah, I would be very interested in that. But if you're not hearing that, I don't think,
And just a quick reassurance from back in the Reston National Golf Course days, Delegate Ken Plum stood with us at the point of the N in the Reston No, if anyone remembers that picture, taken from aerial from above. We all spelled out the word no real big in front of the Northwestern Mutual building. Anyway, he and Supervisor Hudgens were at the point of the N. And also Senator Janet Howe has been a quiet supporter. But both of our state representatives have explained to me that they don't interfere with county business. The county, there's a line there that's respected, but personally, They love Ruston. I don't think we have to worry about those two. Let's
it's
all think about who gets elected. It's all, there's the next elections. We've really got to pay attention.
I
well,
think
and
Walter's got a lot of new supporters here the next time a supervisor election comes around.
thank you. Gosh, I really didn't want to think about that, but thank you.
I know.
Yeah, on the state issue, Connie, I think you're exactly right. It was more, I guess, of a concern whenever our local delegate and state senator were not of the majority party. Then it's always a little, a bit more dangerous, a little bit riskier. But now that they're in the majority party, and yeah, they're not going to do anything. It's fine. I don't see any real threat at the state level at this point.
I have another question about the master plan. Does it get opened every X number of years, or is it closed until you say, let's open it?
More the latter than the former. There is in state law, it actually says that localities should review their comprehensive plan every 5 years, but it doesn't say what review is. And frankly, there are parts of the comprehensive plan. I think right now there are like 8 different studies on the comprehensive plan underway right now. So it's being reviewed all the time. Now, it's not reviewed cover to cover, but the way the language is written in state law, it's pretty general. So it is basically whenever the Board of Supervisors directs the comprehensive plan to be reviewed, that really is what starts the process.
Okay, thank you.
So it looks like is there another question that came in, Suzanne, using the chat? And what I'd like to do is try and maybe exhaust our questions that are in by chat. And if there are folks that want to raise their hand, that want to ask Supervisor Alcorn a question in person, we can do it that way. But is there another
I
question
think
that
we
came in?
covered all the questions. There were some duplicates that I tried to combine in general. Here's one that's just come in. Do we need to take on that legal ruling that limits local control over certain zoning issues?
The Dillon rule.
The Dillon rule.
Yeah, the Dillon rule's okay here because the General Assembly does provide localities the authority to have comprehensive plans. I mean, it's explicit in the statute, and it talks about the comprehensive plan being the plan for the what is it? It's something like the orderly development of local policies, or it actually has some language in there that clearly is enabling for localities to make these decisions. So the good news is there's a lot more flexibility at the comprehensive plan stage on matters like this, as opposed to zoning. The zoning ordinance actually carries the weight of law, and that is more susceptible, I would say, to legal challenge than comprehensive plan language.
If I can just throw
clear, sorry, Connie,
no,
you were going to say something?
Well, it just there's a question about sort of wondering why Supervisor Alcorn sort of kept the door open to Wheelock, not really encouraging them to continue communicating, but Supervisor Alcorn, maybe you can explain the delicate balance you have to walk with a property owner who comes to every meeting with their lawyers at their sides. You can't tell them, don't ever communicate with these people again. I mean,
yeah,
right?
I was elected to the Board of Supervisors, and we have certain tools at our disposal. One of which is the comprehensive plan, as a board. But I actually thought, honestly, one way or another, although, it was pretty clear after a while where this was going, but I figured one way or another, to do this based on community input was absolutely the way to go. And I felt like I had to give, and I needed to give appropriately, Wheelock the opportunity to make their case and, you know, and make their pitch to folks in the surrounding communities. And they did, and it didn't work out the way they wanted.
So another question in the chat concerns the Sally Mae building and the apartment complex that's also owned by Wheelock, which, as we all know, is adjacent to the Hidden Creek property. What if they decide to do something different with those properties? Would that still require a comprehensive plan change or another avenue?
It probably, depending upon what they wanted to do, it might not require a comprehensive plan change. I haven't looked at what the comprehensive plan calls for those particular properties, but my guess is the comprehensive plan describes what's there now, or maybe, you know, maybe allowing for some additional density there. I would need to look at that, those two properties specifically. Assuming that they would look to do something that's allowed for in the comprehensive plan, they would definitely need to come back and get permission under the zoning ordinance to do that, because these, you know, this would be, they would, even if it's just a change in the type of development that's there or the design of the development, even if it's the same use, they would have to get approval. Now, depending upon what they ask for, typically the larger the change that they ask for when coming in for a rezoning, the more ability the county has to either negotiate or, I guess the more difficult it is for the applicant to get approval. So it really, I really don't know what they might be looking at doing, but they do own those properties, so I would expect they're probably going to try to do something.
So what is the best way for a citizen that now they've gone through this process with the threat of the open space in their backyard or in their adjacent community being threatened with development? What's the best way for them with this new knowledge and experience to stay informed on these issues going forward?
Well, one thing you could do is go to the Hunter Mill District webpage and sign up for my newsletter. That's an email newsletter that I send out. Anything relating to comprehensive plan changes, I flag there, and anything, you know, significant land use wise is going to be talked about in the newsletter. I would also say, you know, there's more. There really are three different levels of land use regulation that Fairfax County uses. The comprehensive plan, which we've been talking a lot about. There's the zoning ordinance, which the PRC is one district, one zoning district in the zoning ordinance, but there are many others. And then there is what's called either site plan or subdivision plan. That's the administrative approval, pretty much the engineering plans that are submitted to the county for review. So each of these three levels has different levels of involvement. And in the first two, the comprehensive plan and the zoning ordinance, there are public hearings before both the Planning Commission and the Board of Supervisors before there can be changes to either of those. The site and subdivision plan process is administrative, but you know, sometimes the details there go a long way to, you know, particularly if you're looking at, you know, sometimes the details there can make a big difference in terms of the impact on the neighbors. So I would say, you know, stay organized on this, stay involved. We do have in Reston, there is an ongoing comprehensive plan task force process which by the way does not include either of the golf courses in scope. But I know some of you are involved in that process. Yeah, thank you, Lynn. And anyone else who has been calling into those meetings. But that's another way to basically stay involved and to have input. Those task force meetings, by the way, it's a little bit unusual because as the district supervisor, usually somebody else chairs those task forces. In this case, I put myself in as the chair of the task force for a number of reasons, but land use matters are something that is very close to my heart. It's something I do have a lot of experience in, and I frankly care a lot about. And I think there's some. I want to make sure that process works well, and that everybody is welcomed to participate, not just members of the task force, but I do make a point during those meetings, as there are people who have just called in or are participating as not as task force members, just as a member of the public. I make a point to let them ask questions or make comments. So I do want to encourage everybody who's interested in this to check out what's going on with the task force and some of the long-term decisions about Reston that are being discussed there. And I just to give you a quick flavor of some of the things that we're talking about, we're talking about issues like our open space approach. Do we, is it okay? The last few decades, we seem to be outsourcing more of our open space to private developers to operate our parks that way. Is that okay? I mean, it's good in one sense because the public parks, the park authority in this case, don't have to pay to maintain the property, but it stays in private hands. So we're getting park services, but not really parks. Maybe that's okay, but that's an issue that we're talking about. Also looking at frankly how big do we want Reston to be? In terms of population, what should our target population be? And not just counting, the PRC areas, but also the transit station areas. So, one Reston, what size community should we be targeting? And and then we've got some other things that have just recently come up. I mean, one of them is we have a number of older office buildings and older office parks, not close to Metro, but some of those properties are really, not doing very well. And we have a lot of vacant office space on the periphery of Reston, I would say. And what happens to those? Should it be okay? Is it okay for them to convert to mixed use, maybe to residential uses? And what kind of guidance do we need in our comprehensive plan when those properties really are not viable as office parks anymore? Is it okay for them to redevelop on a property by property basis? One office building versus another, or should we be looking to consolidate an entire office park before it can convert to some other use? I mean, these are the types of things that I'm looking for guidance from you all, from the community and from the task force, and so we can sort of lay out sort of some of those longer term issues in Reston.
Well, thank you so much, Walter. I know we've gone over by 6 minutes, and we're so grateful for your time. We know that you are very busy, but we're so grateful for your attendance. And I will follow up with everyone with the link to sign up for your newsletter. I can say that I get it, and it is very helpful. Both Walter and Chairman Jeff McKay have newsletters that really give us the insights that we need as to what's going on in the county and what's going on in Walter's Hunter Mill district. So Walter, thank you so much. We are just, we're so grateful for your advocacy and sticking to your word, and we're glad that you let us help you do your job.
Well, thank you, Lynn. And I'm happy to come back at any point, or if anybody has questions, feel free to, or anything I can be helpful on, feel free to contact my office.
And we all just have everybody unmute and one big cheer for Walter Alcorn.
Oh,
Yes.
Thank you, Walter.
Thank you, Walter.
Thank you.
Thank you.